These two guys have Minnesota sports flowing in their veins. Mackey and Judd on Score North and ScoreNorth.com.
You like that? 1, 2, 3. You like that? You like that? You like that?
Hello on this Monday. Coming down from our football high over the weekend, we got a lot of everything. We got Hall of Fame quarterbacks. We got a snow globe game.
Oh, God, loved it.
We had some drama here and there. Legendary coaches like Andy Reid. Some great stuff. Zach Taylor maybe emerging into that category at some point, too. No one gives that dude any credit, but wow. What they built with the Bengals the last couple of years.
Absolutely.
So we did an hour-long Purple Daily episode today, too, so check that out. We dove into the 3 known Vikings defensive coordinator candidates and also the latest on can you win a Super Bowl paying one player a crap ton of money. And we went through that list of teams that are remaining. But this is a Statements Monday here on Mackey and Judd, daily Minnesota sports, entertainment, therapy, speculation, whatever you need from us. So, Judd, why don't you hit the breakfast ball here?
Yeah. Oh, I love the breakfast ball. I love the breakfast ball.
You get a mulligan if you want to. That's the beauty of the breakfast ball.
My opening statement is this, and I say this with much chagrin because, again, just like on Wednesdays, I have to admit I was wrong. And my statement is they were right. I defended the Vikings all season long against what I thought was a lazy narrative of they're frauds. They're frauds. And I said, no, they're won 13 games. They're not frauds. Now, they might not be great, but they're not frauds. And I took this into the opening round playoff game against the Giants at US Bank Stadium, a home game. And I said, the national people are wrong. They're not frauds. They've got a chance. They got a great chance. And then, of course, they lose that game. And that was disheartening and too bad for them and us. But more importantly, that's not why I am making this statement on this Monday. I am making it because 75% of the games the past 2 days I thought were great. And then there was one that sucked. Yeah. And that was the Giants' 38-7 destruction at the hands of the Philadelphia Eagles on Saturday, in which Daniel Jones looked like Daniel Jones, not like the guy that played and just picked apart the Vikings defense. And making it even worse is that 38-7 loss for Big Blue, who beat the Vikings, came on the 5-year anniversary of the Vikings' 38-7 loss in the NFC Championship game in the same stadium against Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Pyle. I cannot defend the Vikings any longer. 13 wins, an NFC North title. Me, of all people, standing behind Kevin O'Connell and saying onward and upward. The loss was bad. Saturday to me was worse.
Yeah, because watching pretty much all those games, you felt like the only 2 teams the Vikings may have had a shot against, including the AFC, were like the Jaguars and the Giants, right? If they got into a game again with the Jaguars and the Giants,
yeah,
it'd probably be pretty close. They'd be punching. And then Trevor Lawrence kind of allows the Jaguars to punch up a level too.
Oh yeah,
when he's dialed in.
Oh yeah,
but it was very noticeable, the gaps between the actual heavyweights in the NFC and the AFC and the Vikings. So I think I agree with you.
I can't anymore.
Yeah. I mean, even my opening statement dovetails right off Judd's, and it was the Vikings' loss to the Giants is now even more embarrassing. Because, I mean, we all thought that game was going to be close. And I know New York Giants fans, rightfully so, probably looked at the Vikings matchup in the wild card round and said, oh, perfect. That team, we only lost that team on a 62-yard field goal, and Danny Dimes was great in that game, too, in the regular season. But then when New York goes to Philadelphia and plays, which we also knew was a better team than them, but then for them to get whooped 38-7, Daniel Jones looking like the Daniel Jones that we've all kind of known, that loss now to me is way more embarrassing. Now, if the Vikings had won and they go into San Francisco, and if they lost 38-7, does this kind of cancel each other out? Does the take cancel each other out? I don't know. But I think looking at how the Giants played, to Judd's point, divisional round's my favorite weekend of the calendar football year, and I moved on to the Wild by halftime because I thought, this one's completely over with, and I'm not going to continue watching it much anymore. And looking at the box score and looking at the highlights, there was nothing about that game That makes me sit really, really well. And the loss of the Giants to me is much more embarrassing now after the whipping by the Eagles.
Yeah.
If the Vikings had got whooped by San Fran, at least they would have gotten by the Giants. So I think it's worse.
Yeah, you would
You
have felt
didn't
like
even beat the Giants.
yeah, you would have felt like okay, it would have been the same as 2019 sort of, except
Yes.
19 they won the amount of games that they were supposed to, which is 10, right? Or 11. No, they won 11 because they I think they won the last game of the season sitting starters. But would it feel different if, let's say, they had gone 10-7, which is what they were supposed to have gone, if luck hadn't fallen their way, and they get bounced? I guess then it feels a little bit more in line because the flaws would be more glaring in that they led to losses as opposed to these last minute wins. All right, over on Purple Daily, we did trigger warning. We did talk about Kirk Cousins' contract a little bit. I know that ruffles people's feathers sometimes, but I asked fans on Twitter, and this thing got over 8,000 votes. What would you do if you were Kwesi? How would you approach the next 5 weeks leading up to the NFL free agency period? What would you do with Kirk Cousins entering the final year of his contract? Would you offer him a short extension, which is what he's been signing for 5 years, just another year, maybe another 2 years, just a little short extension, likely for relatively top dollar? Would you just ride out the final year of his contract? Would you ask him to waive his no trade clause? Or would you sign him to a long-term extension through like age 40 and just cover the Viking for life? And my statement here is Vikings fans have spoken emphatically. 47% of people said ride out the final year. 30% said a short extension. 16% said ask him to waive his no trade clause. 7% said give him a lifetime extension through like age 38, 39, 40. So if you add the ride out final year and ask him to waive his no trade, around 60% of people say they're just kind of ready for it to be over. What do you make of that? And which of these four options, how would you sort of rank these four options? They're going to have to pick one in the next 5 weeks, by the way.
Yeah. Personally, I would, if I was them, I would ride the contract out. I think that they'll pick door two, which would be to extend him. The lifetime extension, of course, in my opinion, is not an option at all. The waive the no trade, I'm fine with him not doing that. I'm actually fine with Kirk coming back in 2023. Mm-hmm. So personally, I would go bring him back for the last year. My second one would be to do the short-term extension. My third one would be to have him waive the no trade. And my fourth and last one would go to a Viking for life because I just don't see the need for that.
See, I actually totally disagree with your rankings. This is great. I'm going to give you my rankings so we can compare.
Right.
My number one option, shocker, I know, would be to ask him to waive his no trade because if you already know he's not going to be our guy. He's 35 this summer. He's not going to be our guy. We need to plan for the future. The team has major cap issues. If you've already sort of decided you're going to ride him out anyways, if you could get something of value for him before he just walks for nothing, that would be the best case scenario. Part of the Vikings' problem the last couple of years, and maybe it was worth it because they won 13 games and it was fun and there was the Colts comeback and the Bills game. Maybe it was worth it. Mm-hmm. But they ignored a chance to collect draft capital for some of their veterans a year ago. Eric Kendricks had trade value a year ago. Adam Thielen had trade value a year ago. Harrison Smith. Dalvin Cook had more trade value. Like, I don't know how many of these guys have anything more than like fourth round trade value at this point, if any trade value. So can you really just let your veteran players who used to be Pro Bowlers erode, fall off a cliff, and leave for nothing while you're stuck paying a salary cap penalty and bill because you kicked the can down the road? If you've decided that on Cousins, couldn't you just respectfully say, dude, thank you for the 5 years. One of the greatest quarterbacks in Vikings history, which isn't like the most prominent list.
Right.
But we're gonna accelerate more aggressively getting younger and clearing cap space. We're not gonna sign you to an extension. We can find your new home for you you can go and with your agent. Like I would, if you're gonna ride it out, you should explore trades to get a second round pick or something.
You should, but your bosses won't let you. That's the problem.
The Wilves.
Yeah. I mean, do you really think any personnel guy worth his salt looked at that roster and said, oh, I love this roster? Kendricks and Thielen and
well, they
Cook.
did win 13 games.
They did, but they will now turn around, especially the Wilfs, and say, see, it sort of worked. And you'll be like, did it really? And they'll be like, yes, we were very competitive. And as the first step in the Kevin O'Connell era, we won a division title. Like, this is where we get into a very slippery slope. And like the Wills will say, okay, if you're going to have Kirk waive his no trade, who's your quarterback and how immediate can that guy win? Because again, this administration ownership has never shown any inkling that they are willing to purposely take a large step back. They've accidentally done it, but not on purpose.
but now it's like it's staring you in the face so aggressively that you need to get younger in some certain areas. And so of these 4 options, 2 of them involve saying goodbye either now or later. So I'd rather do it now and get draft picks than later. So that's why I would approach him. And the other 2 options are extensions, and I disagree with you again. If you're going to extend him, I'd rather do like a 4-year extension, move cap out of 2023 and 24 and into 25, 26, and just free up as much free agency money as possible to find those 26-year-old dudes, a center, a healthy center, maybe a slot cornerback or something. I'd rather do that. So my options are, number 1, ask him to waive the no trade. Number 2 would be ride out the final year. Number 3 would be a long extension that gives me more cap flexibility. And number 4 would be a short extension, which is the same thing you've been doing for 5 years. I do not have any interest in a short extension anymore.
I don't want him around for long term. I don't care what I do with my cap.
Yeah.
I need to be done.
Okay.
At some point. And I think the path that they're going to choose is extension through 24. I will be very pleasantly surprised if they say, it's done. And that's gonna be a lot of chefs, man. A lot of chefs in that kitchen making that call.
And that's the other thing. If again, this is all the reason why this is so interesting is I think it surprises people how quickly this stuff happens in the offseason. The league year starts in 6 weeks. 6 weeks.
Oh, combine's right around the corner.
I think they moved it to early March, the combine.
Yeah, but I mean, so we are going to be there. And that's where the secret talks start with free agents.
Oh, it's already happening.
That's
now.
not a legal tampering window. That's an illegal tampering window that opens.
If you're just getting
night,
a couple drinks at the bar
St.
in
Elmo's,
Indianapolis.
the Marriott. Well, I've had some drinks there. That's a great place to hang.
Okay, Dex, are you ranking these or?
Yeah, I'll rank these. For me, it's ride it out the final year. Second is to ask him to waive the no trade. I just think it's too complicated. Like, are you going to ask him to waive it? Can you get a deal that's done in principle, but then Kirk says, no, I don't want to do that, and then it falls through?
You would essentially have him and his agent, I think, spearhead the process, right?
Just and they would go to teams to get an extension. He would not.
They would want the extension. Yep.
Yeah.
Third option would be the short to 1 to 2 year extension, and the last one is the 3-year extension. I have no interest in this guy being the long-term option at quarterback. I think it's the writing on the wall with the void years also that's in here after this season. They are in position to ride this out. And if he's not willing to play ball, then okay, you and your agent, who are incredible at working contracts, get together and say, we're going to start orchestrating a trade then. And what teams are you interested in talking with? And then where can we go from there? That would be my options.
Okay, so if you let Kirk ride out the final year, that would mean in the first 2 years of Kwesi running this front office, in a competitive rebuild, quote unquote, that you let Cousins, Kendricks, Thielen, Harrison Smith, and maybe, who am I missing? Dalvin Cook, all erode and walk or be cut for no draft capital, as opposed to trading them before they hit the cliff and getting first, second. I mean, the Seahawks traded Russell Wilson for a boat, right? Didn't the Colts get 2 second-round picks for Carson Wentz?
Conditional first, right?
Yeah, something like that.
So again, if you're gonna say goodbye to these players, like you need to do it a year or two before it makes total sense. You got to. Oh.
I get what you're saying, but there's been nothing that we've seen that leads us to believe that they would take that path. I would be shocked. I would be absolutely shocked because that would get aggressive.
Then let's stop
too.
wondering why they can't build a Super Bowl contender then.
Yeah, no, they want to be competitive. We talked about it last week. They want to be competitive. 13. I'm telling you right now, in Jersey right now, somewhere, a pack of wolves are saying 13 wins and a division title.
Dude, it's such an unserious franchise if they wind up continuing forward with like a 33-year-old Adam Thielen. We'll just keep kicking money down the road. He still has some gas in the tank. Like, guys, be more ruthless.
I think the personnel department's hands are tied behind their back to a certain extent where to what you're saying, Phil, the erosion is just going to have to take place.
Yeah.
Well, I don't like it, but
no. All right, Judd, you're up next here. Your next statement is presented by the official sports bar of the sports dad, Judd Zolgad.
And that, of course, is the Park Tavern in SLP here, the official sports bar and the official place for fun. Look at that right now. Bowling,
who shot this B-roll?
Drink. Look who. This is outstanding. Somebody did a great job. Oh, wait, that was Sports Dad as well. You know why? Because I stopped by the Park Tavern to have a couple of beers. But that is just an illustration of all the fun with bowling, 2 bars that you can have in the community here in St. Louis Park for more than 42 years. It's open 365 days a year. And if you're looking to plan a group outing, perhaps it's going to be your wife's birthday, anniversary, your kid's birthday. Guys, be a hero at home by doing the planning. Tell your wife, you know what, I got this. And then go in a different room, pick up the phone and call 952-929-6810 or go to parktavern.net and give them a call or just simply book a party. I'm talking a party of 40, 50 people. Park Tavern has seen it all. That is nothing for them. It's easy. Cheryl does a great job, and that's the best part. Park Tavern will do all the work, and you will be a hero at home. Parktavern.net, 952-929-6810. Sip a Surly, where Sports Dad does. Park Tavern, St. Louis Park.
All right, Judd, what's your next statement?
Okay, my next statement is this. Build it strong and build it fast. I implore you to recall the games that we watched, not the Giants so much, but the rest of the teams, and especially like the Bengals or Dallas or San Francisco, and look at what they did defensively. Look at how they swarmed to the football. Look at the lines of these good teams. The Bengals had 3/5 of their offensive line out, and those guys kicked ass. You know why? Because they're strong, they're intimidating, and defenses are fast now. I highly doubt that this exists, but wouldn't it be fun to have like a speed ranking on defenses? Because the Vikings would have been 32nd. Like if you had a closing the gap speed and like an overall statistic to show that. Think about how slow the Vikings were, the linebackers were. Think about all the space that existed. And then think about what we saw from the Bengals, hell, the Bills too, how quickly they got to guys.
Yeah.
And how strong those teams were up front. And if intimidating is not the right word, it's close to it. Like, look at those defenses where they are, and then look at how passive and slow the Vikings were. Build it strong and build it fast.
Yeah, I think that data does exist from like NFL Next Gen Stats, but I don't know how much they quantify it for the public. I don't think there's like a leaderboard for now. Baseball makes all that stuff transparent. You can see like who the fastest players are and player tracking data. The NBA. I don't know to what extent the NFL makes that stuff widely public, but eye test. Yeah, I mean, just watch, dude. There was a linebacker who was was it the Niners linebacker that literally ran 40 yards down the field step for step with CeeDee Lamb to break up a pass in that game?
Unbelievable play.
And Eric Kendricks used to do that stuff too, like 5 or 6 years ago. But dude, they have a life. And meanwhile, Jordan Hicks and Eric Kendricks now, as 30 and 31-year-old guys, have a hard time keeping up with mobile quarterbacks and really any tight end running across the field, let alone CeeDee Lamb 40 yards from the line of scrimmage. So
yes.
Just getting faster should help this defense. I think it's one of those scenarios where sometimes if you have a veteran player that can play fast because he sees what's happening, that maybe you'd rather have him. But I think we've sort of crossed that line of, no, you just need some faster guys here that are a little more spry and young.
Strength too, though, like up front. These teams that are really good are intimidating up front. The Vikings weren't. They should have been. They could have been, but they weren't. So yeah, I think the blueprint for the makeover of the defense is right there. Just do it. Work on it. Get younger, get faster. I don't need veteran guys that can't run anymore.
My next statement, after watching most specifically the Bengals and Joe Burrow being cool as a cucumber, delivering darts, and then in his post-game interview being him, my statement is, I want a quarterback who doesn't give a bleep. And Joe Burrow does not give a bleep. He's asked point blank, I believe by Tracy Wolfson in that postgame, oh, so what do you think? They got to move that game that was going to be in Atlanta. I better send those refunds. And that was it. There was no other pontificating answer. He was just cut and dry of, better send those refunds. But then obviously his play and just the way he goes about leading that team, man, I love watching that dude play quarterback. I mean, Pat Mahomes is a magician. Josh Allen, when he's also playing at his peak, is really fun to watch. I think Joe Burrow is right up there now with Patrick Mahomes in terms of one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL and one of the best quarterbacks to watch. I know they were also saying that in the postgame that if you wanted to say last year was a fluke for the Bengals to make that run to the Super Bowl, that argument is now invalid. They start 0-2. They then go on a run where they only lose a few games the rest of the season. Now they're on the doorstep of going to back-to-back Super Bowls with a head coach who has, even turned my attention and said, okay, this guy is pretty damn good, with a generationally good quarterback. It's been impressive, and I want the quarterback who does not give a bleep. I know they don't grow on trees either, but watching Joe Burrow play football, it makes me very envious for the Vikings to have a guy like that.
Meanwhile, on the other end of the quarterback spectrum, the Dallas Cowboys official Twitter account sent out this.
Yeah, that's great.
This is the official Cowboys Twitter account. Dak Prescott gave away the ball twice in the narrow loss to the 49ers in a matchup the Cowboys had a chance to win if they didn't again generate self-inflicted wounds. There's no link or anything. It's just a Twitter post. It's just a tweet.
It's great.
Well,
did they forget the link to an article or something?
Oh my God.
The team account just did Jerry Jones
Jerry
went in
Jones
and said,
probably pissed and told him to
someone, what's that social?
Bring me that social media gal.
Spitter, Twitter.
Yeah. There's a fighting chance that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
What do you think it's always a transition when, in the 90s, Dan Marino and John Elway and Joe Montana, when they bow out, like that was kind of the 80s and early 90s Mount Rushmore. And then Peyton Manning and Tom Brady and maybe Brett Favre. Like, I feel like the league is in amazing hands right now with Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, although he's at this point kind of been proven to be a level, but Trevor Lawrence is going to be in that mix.
Coming down the pike here. I like him a lot.
But even like Jalen Hurts, and there's so many dudes right now up and down the league. You get a little nervous, like who's all right? Well, Tom Brady's getting old, Aaron Rodgers is getting old. Who's going to be the fun must-watch quarterbacks? There's about 10 teams that are kind of putting garbage out there, but this is a pretty amazing top-heavy list of star young quarterbacks right now.
The thing about Burrow that just astounds me, because he's not like super fast, but his ability to navigate the pocket and to be athletic when it matters, it's mind-boggling. Like, because he's not, he's not Hurts. He's not just going to take off all of the time. But one, he can, and two, his footwork in the pocket, like he makes it look so simple that it's like, well, yeah, of course that's how he's going to move in the pocket. Oh, no, watch other quarterbacks. That's very, very difficult. I mean, his ability to sense pressure, like he has every intangible that you could possibly want.
Yeah. Yep. And I think there's just something about him that makes everyone else more confident, more comfortable. You just see that dude walking around the way that he does. There's just, it's something that's hard to quantify.
It's what Declan said.
Football reference.
He seems like, I wouldn't say he doesn't care. I would say this, nothing phases him.
Yes.
Nothing phases the guy.
Yeah.
That's an incredible thing. And plus, he seems like a decent kid.
Yeah,
like he doesn't come off as a jerk.
Until he gets arrested for meth possession or something. You never know these days.
He's got all his teeth.
Well, so far. Judd, do you have any final Viking statements before we get into some Twins discussion today?
Yes, I have one more. And it's this. We don't miss him. I'm talking about Stefon Diggs. Not only did you upgrade, because you did, I know it's incredible, but you did.
I'll take him.
I would take him too. But didn't we see it again yesterday? He and his lifelong buddy, Josh Allen, this is my guy, this is my quarterback. And of course, he's on the sidelines, arms flailing. One, it's a snow globe game, okay? It's not like it's real simple. Two, he's all, pissed off again. I guess he basically, at the end of the game, ran up the runway, got his stuff and left. And a veteran guy who's on the practice squad dragged him back into the locker room briefly. And then he just left again. It's like, you're still pulling this crap, dude.
Yeah.
Like these star turns. And the one thing that Phil, we used to talk about way back when on the radio show was that Thielen at the time and Diggs didn't seem like divas. Like they seemed low maintenance. And somewhere along the way, I don't know if it was the miracle. I don't know if it was his frustration that got him traded. Somewhere along the way, Stefon Diggs has turned into, and he's still damn good, but he has turned into a diva.
Well, okay, and if he's frustrated in Buffalo now, where is your next move? You gonna force your way to the Bengals or?
Yeah.
I mean, I'd take him back. He wants to come back and play next to Justin Jefferson.
Thielen.
But I don't know how that's gonna happen.
But I mean, I'm watching what we used to see from him and this now, it's like, why'd you go there? You've now become the receiver who is too good for, you got to get me the ball. What are you doing? And I understand you're frustrated, but does gesticulating on the sidelines really help your cause?
He's a highly emotional guy. Yeah, Josh Allen didn't even look up at him because he probably does it all the time. I think he just has, I don't know, he just has a short fuse when things are not going his way. He's a little bit of a front runner in that way.
Yes.
But I would still take him in the foxhole. I don't think he's a toxic like Terrell Owens kind of a guy. I think he just gets super charged up in the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I agree.
Win.
Like I'd rather have the Jefferson, but Jefferson could start doing this at some point too. You get to be your 4th, 5th, 6th year in the league, and you're like, "What the hell are we doing, guys?"
Of course he could, but I'm just saying, I'm tired of this crap.
I do have one more quick one, then we'll talk some Twins here. I just pour one out for Brett Maher's kicking career. I know that he came back and made a couple field goals, but dude, that extra point that got blocked. I think we're dealing with a Chuck Knobloch situation here that now he has to sit on this all off season.
Do you remember the first game? So I think it was the first game after the Seahawks debacle when Blair Walsh missed. I think the Vikings opened the next season in Tennessee. And there was a kick where they tried to say the wind got it. But that Blair Walsh literally had a kick that took a left turn towards downtown Nashville.
Yeah.
And it's like that ball is this is like, unless there is a gust of wind that's a hurricane, that ball that got blocked, he was actually fortunate it got blocked.
Yeah.
It was going to miss by so much. It would have been worse to not have it blocked. So,
at least when it gets blocked, you can kind of justify to yourself like, oh, that was totally going to sneak in. If that I'm going to blame the guard. The left guard needs to get a better base.
And you know what? If that doesn't get blocked and he doesn't miss it, and there was a field goal they went for it in the first half on 4th down and they got it, but then Dak threw a pick shortly after that. They're up 10-6 at the half. Mm-hmm. So like that changed the game.
Yeah. Poor guy. All right.